Welcome to Trading Lounge and the indices, starting with the SP500 here on the weekly chart. So this will just give us a bit of a rough path to view and tweak along the way. But in a nutshell, we're looking at wave 4 being in place here. We still need to actually confirm that, but we'll talk about that when we look at the intraday. But the stocks would suggest that we will be pushing higher, so into wave 5 of 3 and then back for wave 4 here. So 1 and 2. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third, fourth, fifth. So it does appear that we're going to be around the 5,000 area here for quite some time, which would probably be in line with the fundamentals of the economy at the moment. So let's just go to the daily chart here and start to break that trend down. So from wave 3 here to wave 4 here. Now the alternative here, if I looked at this market or this particular pattern at face value, we could view this over here, this top, when it does come in, and we'll need to talk about this here, but as an A and a B and a C wave here, and then coming down for a C wave here. But it's not the message that I'm getting from stocks. So the bias is to the upside here, with the ABC being in place here. But at face value, this could be labeled as an A and a B and a C wave for a larger B wave, and down for the C wave for wave 4 here. So that said, what we're looking at for at the moment is from this wave 2 here moving up to this area through here. We're looking for 5 waves up here, and then we're looking for a pullback. This is the little pocket, the 61.8%. We don't really need that there. Now we know where it is. The real supply here, or rather the resistance, would be the 5,200 here, and we're also seeing the NASDAQ sort of gravitate and be pulled to the 18,000. So yeah, the 5.2 here is where we're really going to see the little dance from. So let's just go in. So yeah, look, in another way too, from this wave 4 to this wave 5 up here, we've got a good few months here, I guess, to play this out. It just depends on how long wave 4s take. That's always a little bit of a Fibonacci in terms of retracements and extensions is more accurate than working with time. There still seems to be a bit of a code that needs cracking on the time. You know, maybe it'll come into quantum mechanics in folding time and space together in some way or another. But anyway, well, that's another story for another day. Let's go into the 1,000 area here and intraday. So we're looking at that little 5 waves I just mentioned moving to the upside. So we've got 1 and 2 here, and then we're looking up at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and going up for 5. You know, I was hoping, you know, during the week, early in the week and through the week, I'd been talking about having this wave 2 completed sort of on the Thursday, which would leave us Friday and Monday for this bullish day, but we're just not quite there yet. It's kind of weird. I thought we would be. And the other thing is that if I've made a mistake, then this wave 1 would go over to here, and I can see how that can fit without too much problems. So the thing is that let's just assume for a moment that this here is an A and a B and a C wave here, and you know, we come down here. But wave 2s are normally in 5 waves, 3 waves, and then 5 waves. So a 5-3-5 structure, and here we've got 3 waves here. So it's likely to be the wave 4 in this case. But let's just assume for a moment that we're wrong, and we do come down, drop down here further past the 38.2%. Well, then we'll look at this being wave 2 here, and then we'll start building long trades to the upside. But otherwise too, also what I need to mention is the trading level. So 5.2 is a minor level, and then 10, 20, and 30 here, the 1, 2, and 3 subgroup, the next degree smaller, and then subgroup 2 here. So the market's really being supported in group 2 here at the moment. So when it pushes to the upside here, the 1, 2, and 3 are the areas that that will give it the resistance that's required. And yeah, this is the space where This is the corrective range for this particular price point here. And then if we're looking at the 5,200 here, because we know the supply is over here as well, supply just meaning sellers resistance. So so across the 5.2 here, we're looking for a classic trading levels pattern, the arrival, the reaction, the first high above the level, and then the ABC correction. So the most common pattern, so we've got this, we're looking for this, and then we need this ABC pattern, and then we can start building in over this side. There's only 3 basic patterns that can occur at a level, and the good thing about this is that because it's reacted here already, then the rest of this seems to fold out like that, because in a way, because it got resistance here, it's telling us that you know, there's a glass ceiling here that needs to be cracked and then broken, and then we can go through it, so to speak. So yeah, the battle of that supply needs to be played out, and this is basically how it's going to do it. So we could view this here as wave 1, 2 here, and going up for 3, 4, 5 here. Now, like I said, it can go up to the 30 and even into 33 or 34 up here, a little bit higher. So yeah, but anyway, we'll just wait for that to play out. So that's that really. Yeah, so we're going to build in over here. If you want to take part profit off the market because of these trades here, that's fine. We're leaving the stop out of the way. And yeah, we'll talk about this tomorrow in the next video. NASDAQ on the daily chart, same. So 3, 4 here, and then 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th here. Now, this particular wave 4 here, by the way, you know, it can pull back to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree, so we could put it here. Normally they're sort of up here a little bit, but when this occurs here, no matter what count other markets are in, they're going to be pulled down by this. This will be some sort of event here that yeah, anyway, it'll have a lot of impact on the markets. So yeah, well, once again here we're looking for wave 1 to the upside here, and obviously here all of this across the top here, the 18,000, you can see the old high here is the supply. I always call 8 a profit taking number, so coming up to number 8, and it doesn't matter where you see the number 8, obviously, you know, it could be $80, 80,000, $8, 18 cents. You'll always see the bids, you know, the asks build up, the sellers come in at that particular number. So yeah, we look at it as 1 is the strongest number, then 5, then 8. So I always expect profit taking coming in at that level there. So let's go into the intraday and have a look at this. So on the intraday basis here, we're counting up as 1 and 2. I could rearrange this a bit, but 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and then we've got that 3 wave move here, so we know that it's corrective. So it's probably 1 and 2, and a little bit flat at the end of the session, of course, and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and then the ABC. Now this is also you know, at the 18,000 here, we've got group 1 above, so we've got 1, 2, and 3 here, and then group 2 below. So that's the swing range, and if you understand that, then you know that you don't need to make any decisions too quickly within that space, because if you don't know what the pattern is, like this one here, you know, markets are trends and corrections, and we've seen a trend here, but we haven't seen the correction yet. So yeah, you just got to wait. Patience is, you normally find the solution in patience. So that's that. So yeah, so many of the other markets that you look at or you're looking at, this is, you know, this particular count really comes from the tech stocks, the S&P, and this. So this is what they'll be going through. So most of the other markets will be doing the same. So we can expect a bit of a push up and then a pull back. I was expecting it earlier, but there it is. Rightio, so the Russell, so once again a push up and then a drop back here, probably cover that gap over here for this. Now obviously, you know, as I mentioned before, and everybody knows that, you know, the Russell, of, you know, they're smaller stocks and they're subject to higher financing and inflation and all those sorts of things. So they're not at this, in this environment, they're not the best long trade, to put it that way. So we'll leave that for that, and then we'll move over to the European market. So what I wanted to point out here actually is that if I come back to my S&P here for a moment, because the DAX basically follows the S&P to a point. So if I come back to, say, the weekly chart here for a moment, and we look at this picture up the top here, this is really what the DAX is going to go through. We can come back to this in a moment. But basically this wave 3 here and 4 here, 3 here and 4 here, and then up for 5 here. So going up for 5 here, third and 4th here, and then going up for the 5th wave over here for this 1 and 2 over to this point. And yeah, so that's kind of it in a bit of a nutshell. So this little move up here, we also need to tie in within reason into the S&P and the NASDAQ in that there. So yeah, so there's a couple of different ways to count this here. If I come back to the S&P here for a moment and just go into 1000 ticks here, let me just bring this over to here. So in this case here, we're going up for 1 here and back for 2, then up for 1 and back for 2. Now, it's quite a nice fit and it looks quite good in this particular instance here. But when we look at this in this move here, that means that this would be 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here. So it probably in the European markets, we could also count this up. Instead of going up for 1 and back for 2, we could also count it up as going up for wave 3 here. I mean, it is sort of going up for wave 3 anyway. I'm just going to go into 5,000 ticks here for a moment. Or did we just... I'll just have a look at the daily chart, because I don't... That is the daily chart. So let me just go into 5,000. So I started to just clean this up here a little bit so you can kind of get a bit of a visual on it now that you're sort of looking at the bigger picture here. So I've been toying with this here as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here, which is possible, but I think it's a better fit as 1 and ABC for 2. And then going up here for 1 and 2. Now this here would be fitting into the S&P's count here, because it does follow. So I think it's kind of important to do that. So 1, 2 here, and then 3, 4, 5 for 3rd, 4th, 5th up here for this, and it'll take, a good month or 2 to get up here somewhere for this. The other alternative for looking at all of this move here, I could come back here and look at this as a 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 in here, and look at all of this as more of a 3rd wave coming up here, because it's quite common for the 3rd wave to come in around the top here. So we could look at this as 1 and 2, and then going up for wave 3 around here somewhere, and then wave 4 here. But if I do that, then the timing for the S&P is not going to be in play either at that point. So I've got to take this further up at this point. But I just want to explain how I see the market, and and what tweaking would need to be done, and all of those sorts of things. And then I mean, we're just sharing ideas really. I mean, we've got our trade set up, so we know we use the classic trading levels pattern for that, and we wait for certain things to occur. So anyway, this is this move here. Now that's on the 5,000 tick, and I think we're on the working with the 1,000 tick area here. So I've had this as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here, but I've also had the 2 over here as well. And yeah, I'm just going to put that 5k there because I know I'm working with that chart now. So yeah, so we've got a few long trades in here. We just really because I could put it up as 3 and 4 here and those sort of things, or we need to look at it as wave 1 over here and then coming back for wave 2 over here a bit deeper. So if it's going to follow the S&P and the S&P counters, right, we're going to see this, and then we're going to see something like this here. So you can take some profit off here. I think we're talking about that in here somewhere if you wanted to. I don't know how far this is going to pull back, the wave 2. I mean, probably 40%, could come back 60. Might want to take it all off, but it's always good to have a little bit of skin in the game for trading the longer trend. Anyway, that's where we are at the moment. We don't really need to do anything. I don't really want to get involved with this. I mean, this move down here, you know, I talked about weakness coming in on starting on Tuesday and then seeing Wednesday and Thursday, you know, to roll over on all of this. So, once again, if I've made a mistake here, then we'll have to put wave 1 over here if we get that pullback in here. But this is what we're looking for to build these, you know, next trends through up here. And we will move in pretty hard. We will move in pretty hard through this area here because this will be the, you know, if this is correct, then this will be minor wave 3 or minute wave 3, and then we'll also be looking at minuet wave 3 here as well going into play here. So it'll be the third of the third of the third. So we do need to push it in this space, you know. Okay, so that's the DAX, and then we come over to the FTSE. And so with the FTSE here, I've got to tie this into into the market as well. Now, this particular count here doesn't fit the S&P count. Okay, so if I go back to the daily chart, would do the trick, I think, if I can find that for the S&P. That's 1,000 ticks. Just excuse me for a moment while I get it there. Because it's just good to sort of understand the timing. Because like I said, with the S&P here, right, is that when we get to the top here and this wave 4 comes into play, this is going to, you know, I don't think many markets are not going to be touched by that, right? So if this is correct, and we have to validate and, you know, gather evidence along the way for everything that we do, and but if this is true, then, you know, there's no way that this market, the FTSE, can continue up here in this particular pattern, because this is the best count that I've got for this at the moment, with 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and going up here. And this is really stretching up here now, you know. The other count that I've got for this, which I think is kind of, which is more in line with the S&P. This is just a 2-day chart, nothing special about that. But this one here is more in line with the S&P, this one here. So this would be, you know, this move from wave 4 here, this wave 4 here going up to wave 5. So wave 4 going up to wave 5 of 3 or 5 of 3, and then seeing this come back here. This would be, you know, so I've got to kind of consider this as well. So I'm kind of running 2 counts on this at the moment. Not that it's a big deal, but we just keep sort of tracking this little move to the upside. So with this little move to the upside from this wave 4 here, and there is a count that it could also be this wave 4 here as well, but we won't go into that just yet. We're just going to focus on the intraday. And the intraday move here from that wave 4 here, I've cleaned this up a little bit, removed some of this stuff in here, but 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here. And in this case here, it's a bit difficult to look at this as the same as the S&P and the NASDAQ. So I have to do it differently, because the S&P and the NASDAQ have got this as wave 1 up here, but it just doesn't fit. So I have to look at this as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and a third wave up here. And this fourth wave here will be in line with this 1 and 2 that pulls back on the S&P here. So they will go down, but it'll just be a different count at this point. So I can see that, you know, we've got 2 tops that are quite close here at the moment, and also too, the number 3 here is the 4th strongest number after 1, 5, 8 and then 3. And for me, this market hasn't really stopped at the number 3 here. Yeah, it played out with the small classic trading levels pattern here. You know, it migrated from being resistance to support, but it never really sort of reacted there. So basically that particular pattern would be this pattern here, where it doesn't really stop at the level. It pushes up, loses steam, and then drops back down. And the number 3 across here in this particular instance, the 8,300, would become the balance line for this correction maturing and then ready to go back up here again. So I'm thinking that it may end up being another little push up here, but we're going to be looking something like this here for this, because we've seen a nice trend here, right? But we haven't had the correction yet, and I think it's across this number, and I think it is the overshoot pattern. So taking some money off the table in this area here is not such a bad idea if you've just got this position here, and then we'll look to build in over here with all of that. Okay, so we'll just see how this plays out, but that's what I'm sort of thinking here for this. The Australian market's a little bit the same, actually. If I can just push this across, it's got that nice long trend up there, but I'm going to look at it the same as the S&P, and I'll explain why in a moment. So we've got wave 1 here. I'm going to put this as the A, the B, and the C for wave 2 here. I'm going to look at this as wave 1 up here. Now, it is possible that because of the strength of this and the beauty of it, is that we could look at it as a wave 3. So I'll put that there as an alternative wave 3 here, because wave 3 has also come in at the old highs, as I mentioned before, and in a move to the upside here, coming into this level here, this would be the normal sort of process here. If I could just draw this out for a moment. So we've got this 1 and 2 here. So we've got 1 and 2 here. So this would be 3, 4, and 5 here, something like this. And then we have a larger correction to come into play, because 8 is a serious number. And also 2, we've got the arrival over here, by the way. So we've got the arrival, the reaction, and the first high above the level, and then we'll be looking for an ABC. So in a way, in the bigger picture, we're looking for something like this. Okay, so we keep that in mind as well within all of this. So there's a couple of ways to count this up here. But if I follow the intraday, because the S&P and this market will follow it on the intraday basis. Now I can see that we've got 3 waves here. Now it doesn't mean that wave 4 is finished. It could get a bit uglier here, but basically we're still looking for the move up here, and then we're looking for an ABC back here again. Okay, so we're not where we want to be at the moment. We want to be putting this over to here for this, Once again, over here, you can look to take money off the table at the 7, 8. Always, not always. If you're going to take some money off, and your numbers, number 8 is where you do that. So I'll leave that up to you at that point. And yeah, so the same sort of pattern here. Now I want to go and explain why I'm looking at this as 1 and an ABC for 2 here for this. Okay, so I'm going to get the trading view thing, and I'm just going to go to this. Here is a 15-minute chart, and it's on the XTL here. So that's the ASX top 20 here. So I'm just going to get this chart into perspective here, and I'll just put that there. Bring that up there a little bit, try to get as much as I can in there. So you can quite easily see from here, well, I'll start from the top here, that we've got some sort of ABC pattern coming into play here. Okay, so we've got this A, B, and C wave here. Now I want to talk about this here. So this is the top 20. So you can see quite clearly here that we've got this wave 1 and ABC for wave 2 here. So that's quite clear, isn't it? And then we've got this move up here that we're looking at being possible 1 and 2 here for this market. So this little area here is really quite clear when it comes to looking at this here as 1 and ABC for 2. It's just that this particular market here, runs it is the ASX 200, but it follows the XJO during the market hours and the futures market in the after hours. So it ends up having, more data presented But to tie it back in simply to this market here, it becomes very obvious that this is 1 and ABC for 2. This particular market is the top 100 here, and it's also the same as well here. So I can look at this. It's quite clear that it's an ABC pattern here, and the same with the XJO here. So this is the cash market here. So the 1 ABC for 2. Now we could view this as wave 2 going up for wave 3 and continuing higher. We know that we're going to be going a little bit higher here, but then we can look at this here perhaps and then up at that point. Otherwise we'll just keep tripping up here for 1, 2 and then 3 at the old highs over here, because that's the normal sort of process. But you also have to remember too that the reason I've gone for the 1 and the 2 here is that when we look at the S&P here for a moment, you know, this is basically this, right? If this count is correct at that point there, that's going to be the halfway mark from this wave 4 to wave 5 here. So you can see how long it's taken us already to get to, you know, we're not even halfway yet, you know. So then we need the other half here, and we don't really know. Normally these 1s and 2s are quite sharp and quick, and the 3s and 4s are longer, so it could take even longer than this, right? So it's still, you know, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20 days. So this is like be a month to get to here. So this is going to be at least could be a month here, could be more, right? So in a month, we need to be, you know, if this is going to be the halfway mark just here, for example, then we still need another month here. So that's why we're looking, you know, we're looking further up here, because this would be the halfway mark here for that. So it's just a timing thing more than anything else. Anyway, we've got a month of bullish trends and all good. Okay, so I'll leave it all at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.